Time now for Talking Campus, our weekly discussion with members of the College Fix editorial team. Today I'm joined by College Fix staff reporter Nathan Rubelke for a conversation about the racial shakedowns happening on America's campuses. Nathan, I remember 20 years ago when race hucksters like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson were extorting companies like Toyota, demanding all sorts of concessions and payouts to keep them from labeling these corporations as racist. Is what we're seeing now on campuses increasingly strident demands from black students for more control, more money, more resources, including the power to censor? Is this the next iteration of racial blackmail in America today?
Hey, Duke. Thanks for having me. I think this is really similar to 20 years ago. Just like when those folks were making demands to corporations and the corporations ceded to them because they were nervous about being called racist. I think that's the same exact thing right now. You see a lot of universities ceding to demands because they're scared of being called racist and facing the backlash that might cause.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing these demands, too, get more and more intense. People at home need to realize this isn't just a demand from these students for more access or for more diverse teachers. This is really a call for all sorts of transformational reforms here. You wrote one of your articles that I really enjoyed about St. Louis University, where at St. Louis University, kids were demanding in the wake of Ferguson, they were demanding that the university build a statue to honor anti-police riots and protests. Talk a little bit about that story.
Sure. Yeah, I was a student at St. Louis University, and I graduated last year. In 2014, there were protests on campus relating to the Ferguson protests and other police-related shootings. Our campus was only about 20 minutes away from Ferguson, and one of the demands was to erect a monument to kind of capture the essence of the protest and honor the protest. We reported on it, huge backlash. Donors spoke out, alumni spoke out, students spoke out, and they changed course. Instead of erecting that monument to honor the protest, now going to erect a monument, from my understanding, to honor Martin Luther King. So after our reporting, it changed.
Yeah, that needs to be pointed out. It shows the power and the reach and the good work that the College Fix is doing, because you guys, the College Fix, we were one of the first organizations to really push that hard with great reporting, and there was a difference made, right? There was backlash, and the Fix was able to engineer a solution behind the scenes, so to speak. I wanted to ask you, Nathan, is this on campus, this kind of radicalization? At Oklahoma State University, for instance, where 4%, a group calling themselves the 4% of African-American students at Oklahoma State University are making pretty shocking demands, including the right to rename all buildings named after people they don't like for social justice activists. In your experience on college campuses, who's really responsible for this? Is this a faculty thing that's driving students? Is it administrative? Is it mainly small groups of kids who are sensing in the wind this kind of power and using it to twist arms? Where's this coming from?
I really think it's a combination of all three, but I think it's led by the students, at least in my experience. You've got a strong but small group of students. They're vocal, they're loud, they have the attention. Administrators are a bit complicit, I believe, but they also cede to this loud group, these demands, because they don't want to be labeled racist. And then you also have a lot of activist faculty members that are sympathetic, who are kind of activists themselves. And so when you see that, it should be no surprise that they rally around these vocal protesting students.
Yeah, I've been on college campuses for 25 plus years, and I'm always amazed at how any criticism from the left, any criticism from the hard left of universities causes conniptions. It's like a tidal wave. It starts with the chancellor's office and works its way down until there are all of these very reactionary reforms instituted. I think about the same kind of complaints from conservative or Republican or Christian kids coming from the other side would not be addressed at all. This would be like completely ignored. I remember when Obama won in 08 and 12, there were no chancellor directives coming from the top of universities offering kids safe spaces and psychological counseling, as there were when Trump won just in 2016. You wrote another article about your experiences at St. Olaf College. Talk about that in terms of the power to censor that some of these groups are asking for.
Sure. At St. Olaf College this May, there was a racist note found on campus and ended up being a hoax. But despite that, widespread protest on campus. And one of the demands was to oust a member of an advisory board and an alum from that position because of his political views and his religious views. And that was just another example of how these protests might get started on something that might be real, like a note or an incident, and then they just go all over the place. These demands touch every corner of campus, and the students, they run with it because they know they have the power and they have administrators.
It's amazing. We've done a show for the College Fix in the Campus Roundup talking about that, how all of this radical increase in racist hoaxes on college campuses. And it's not a problem for colleges. It's not a problem for activists. They love this. If they can't have real racist incidents, they're happy to make them up because the same reforms happen. Whether or not the racial incident on campus ever happened or if it's just a hoax, the same reforms are pushed and they're never reversed when we find out that the hoax are false. As we wind down, Nathan, last question I want to ask you is, in your experience, is there any way we can combat this? What can be done to minimize this radical shift left whenever anybody complains? Are there steps we can take on campus to sort of balance this out more?
That's a tough task and a great question. I mean, I think some students will just have to be more fearless and speak out. And that's a challenge because you can agree with some of the demands maybe, or maybe you might be more for better race relations, but if you're not for all the demands, you might be attacked as a racist. But if more students speak out, I think administrators, faculty will take notice. And if not them, alums and donors will take notice and might side with them.
And we've always got the College Fix to keep pointing these stories out. Nathan Rubelke, staff reporter at the College Fix. Be sure to stay up on all the latest news and information from the College Fix editors by joining us on our social media platforms. Nathan, thanks for joining us today.